I know you're nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Buck fans were there too. The Buck.
Tampa Tones. We are joined by lead goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little clear. But we're joined by Pat Donovan.
It looks like Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like we got a little...
No, my camera's broke.
Howdy ho, howdy hey, how the hell are you? It's been a holiday week, a long week, but we are back. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Hope everybody ate all the turkey they could. And I hope a lot of people are here in one piece, not like this Buccaneers team that's limping along here and almost broken in half. But key word is almost, because they're not out of it quite yet. And we're going to get into the great debate here in this episode and so much more. Would you rather get a playoff berth or would you rather get a higher draft pick? And a lot of those answers are going to, or a lot of those questions will be answered here in the rest of the season, in these last 6 weeks here of football, with head coach Todd Bowles teetering for his job as we speak. Nonetheless, it's Tampa Tones alongside the great J-Lo, and without further ado, we'll bring him in here shortly. You guys are watching us right now live on Buccaneers Podcast YouTube channel or Bucs Life News LLC on Facebook. Keep up with the program on X at Buccaneers or on Instagram at Buccaneers Pod, BUCCATEERS POD. Without further ado, J-Lo, how the hell are you, brother? Long time no talk. Hope all is well. I see you getting ready for Christmas. It's a great time of year, but it's even a better time of year when the Bucs are playing competitive football.
Couldn't agree more, man. I'm doing good. Got my tree up, got the ornaments up yesterday. So far so good. Just got to keep up with you with the lights in your background.
Yeah, you know, I try and get the place going a little bit, try and get it into a winter wonderland and bring some joy to the town, because the Bucs are not bringing joy at this very minute, J-Lo. We're in the midst of our second losing streak on the season at this point. The first one was a disaster, right? The Bucs started 3-1. We fell to 3-5, and then we got a win against the Titans to make it 4-5. Then we lost a couple more in a row right now, and we're down to 4-7. And it feels like our backs are up against the wall. It really does. Here is our favorite Canadian, Steppin' Peppin, joins. What's up, guys? Yeah, we got a lot to go over here, Steppin' Peppin. So buckle in and tune in. We'll be here until the top of the hour tonight, and then we'll be back Saturday as well. We have a Panthers personality joining the program on Saturday. Michael Meyer, he'll join us, and he'll give us a rundown on his Panthers and how he's feeling after the Frank Reich dismissal. Then we'll be back on Sunday with breakfast to the Buccaneers as well. So a lot of Buccaneers this week, J-Lo. Tonight's the first of many, and we're here talking good football till the top of the hour. So sit back, relax, crack a cold one, join us. And I'll ask you this to start. We lose to the Colts. Peppin Steppin says the early bye week killed us. Last week's game with the loss to the Colts, did you get any indication that it might be the early bye week that killed us? I mean, I could blame that if we were really, really losing a lot of, if we didn't clunk 2 back-to-back losing streaks in a row. I agree. I don't think the early bye week helped us, but I can't quite pinpoint all the blame on the early bye week to this point of our struggles. What say you with that, J-Lo? And a little bit of your thoughts and turkey and meat on the Colts loss.
Yeah, I mean, the early bye week might have caused some of that losing streak, but at the end of the day, man, this team is lost. Like we have the talent. The coaching hasn't been great. We've been going over this for weeks now on Todd Bowles. But I feel like some of the players in that locker room are not really there. It's like 2018 all over again, to where players aren't really there. playing for their paycheck or whatever, and the bye week I felt probably did throw us out of focus, and that loss to the Colts really sucked. It was a game I felt like we definitely had a chance of winning, especially after the first drive. We drove right down the field all over them. But then when we go on defense, we couldn't stop a damn Cole. It was just bad defense. Like, I don't even know what to even say anymore. Even if we would have had Levante David or Jamel Dean, I still felt like this team's just not really there. I mean, if you listen to Baker Mayfield in one of his interviews in the locker room, he said he made it seem like that there are some
You got to
players that are
drag
not,
everybody along the way.
and that right there tells me, like, Bowles, you need to hold people accountable for that. If your quarterback is throwing it out there, you need to pinpoint who it is not really there and put his ass on the fucking bench.
Yeah,
Simple
and
as that.
I was in Indianapolis last week, and I was able to chop it up a little bit pregame with Baker, Mike Evans, Luke Odecki, Logan Hall, JTS. All charisma seemed high. Mike Evans seemed intense, pissed off. He seemed like he didn't want to be losing anymore, and Baker did too. A lot of those guys did. And as we get our great co-host Katz on here, we're going to turn this loose to him here in a minute. Katz, first off, hope your Thanksgiving was great, brother. How the hell are you? Second off, what's your rubdown from the Colts loss? Do you think that it was pretty detrimental to the season? And we're going to get into it next, but since Steppen Peppin brought it up, Todd Bowles is trash. Do you think it's win or go home this Sunday for Bowles and company?
Well, Thanksgiving was good. I'm doing okay. Yeah, that was a. I mean, the Colts are a good team. They're not a bad team anyway. It's tough to go into another building and win, but to say it was an uninspiring performance would sum it up pretty well. Defensively, I saw a stat that great John Ledger put out there that the Buccaneers, I think pass defense only, although the run defense was not good either in this particular game, is 32nd in expected points added per pass attempt. That's last. My math is right. It can't be 33rd. That's absolutely ridiculous. I don't consider the defense to be loaded with talent. I mean, it's fairly it's talented enough where it shouldn't be there, especially when you have a alleged defensive mastermind as your head coach. And the first drive by the Colts bared that out, and the rest of the game did too, because right away the Bucs did score on their first possession. It was disappointing to settle for 3. You had the Baker injury that didn't help there. You had Trask come in on the second down. I think second and goal at the 1, and you had a motion penalty. Not shocking with a new quarterback. But right away, the Colts went right down the field. 9-yard completion, 10 yards here. Eventually, they stiffened up. They didn't break, but, you could see that the Colts were going to have their way. And I thought Bowles in this game, and I try to avoid this, I really do, but he was outcoached very badly by Shane Steichen. The reason I say that is when you look at how Indy came out in this game, they were ready to throw the football, knowing that the Bucs, probably, do a good job stuffing the run. Even with Jonathan Taylor and Moss there, they figured let's come out, loosen them up, throw the ball. They did that, and then once they had success doing that in the second half, you started to see them run the football because they got the Bucs out of the fronts they wanted to be in. They got better looks, and they were able to run the football effectively, and that's disappointing to me, to see him come out there and get out coached that way by a rookie head coach, a very, very good head coach. He's got the Colts playing good football. That's really disappointing to me, to say the least. Not all that surprising, but disappointing that the Colts had clearly the better game plan offensively versus Bowles' defense, and the final score reflected that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go in on a little rant here, if you guys don't mind. I was in Indianapolis this Sunday, and let me go over a couple of key things from this second Bucs debacle of the season. I'm counting this as debacle number 2. Debacle number 1 was when they started 3-1, went to 4-5, and now we lost 2 in a row again with our backs up against the wall against a Carolina team that's been dysfunctional, discombobulated, half-ass all season. And now they fire Frank Reich, and it's one of those things that might rally the team, it might hurt the team, right? Because just because you get rid of a coach, you probably can't come in with a new game plan that's short of a week. As Reich was fired Monday or Tuesday, only has 5 or 6 days. New coach isn't going to quite get his gizmo and gadgets and gel into the full swing of things as this. But bottom line is this: the Colts and the Bucs game. We're going to talk about that here specifically before we moved on. The Bucs were 3-1 this year. So regardless, I keep hearing people, oh, well, that buy Bowls another year. Expectations were low, yada, yada, yada. Things change as the year goes on. So you start off at 3-1 with wins over a couple decent teams, right? Nothing great, but a Vikings team that's in the playoffs right now, a Saints team that's technically in the playoffs right now. So you started 3-1 with a couple of wins over playoff teams. Not too bad, right? Not too shabby. Then the world comes tumbling down. You get a win to put you at 4-5 against a half-ass in shambles Tennessee Titans team with the ho-hum rookie quarterback and a head coach whose bags are halfway packed and out the door, Mike Vrabel. Ryan Tannehill was struggling, yada, yada, yada. Now you get to a point in time, and I circled this 2-game stretch before the year, but I also think Anthony, as Joey says, agree with Katz and coach, take this how you want. The Colts' first 2 picks in draft have been out most of year, and they went 4-12-1 last season. Yeah, Bucs should never lose a game. I know it's in Indianapolis, but given the talent on this team, Bucs shouldn't lose to Gardner Minshew and the Colts. I know they're playing really good football, but coming into the year, that's one of those games on the schedule you say is very winnable for the Bucs. The Bucs were always trailing in that one, right? The Bucs let up a lot of passes to Gardner frickin' Minshew. We got our asses handed to us by Minshew. We're 27th in the damn league in defense. 27th total defense in the league. We got a defensive-minded head coach. Defensive-minded head coach. Not one defensive coordinator, but 2 defensive coordinators. So a lot of eyes to go around on the defense. We're paying a lot of guys here to have this defense humming, and we're 27th in the frickin' league. And we have a lot of high-paid guys this year. Jamel Dean has a fat contract. Carlton Davis, nice little contract. Vita Vea, fat contract. Shaq Barrett, fat contract. Devin White's playing on the franchise, so on the option regardless. He's making really good money on that 5th-year option. Levante's having a pretty good chunk of change in his pocket right now. This Bucs defense is pretty well paid. They have 2 defensive coordinators. They have a defensive-minded head coach. And they're getting outshined by, no offense, Gardner Minshew's of the world. They're getting outshined by Desmond Ritter's of the world. That's unacceptable. That's not good. That's not okay. However you slice the cake, whether you're a Baker fan or not, our offense has, believe it or not, been the one in keeping us in ball games of late. Now, I know against San Fran, they missed a touchdown off of Otten. Devin Tompkins missed a touchdown as well. That's not Baker's fault. That's not Canales' fault. Should have had 2 more scores that game. But what did the defense do in that one? They kept letting up points. Pick your poison. Ayuk, Kittle. I know that offense isn't easy to stop down there in San Fran by any damn means of the damn imagination. But they lost to Minnesota, that team. That team had a couple other losses as well. They had a month where they lost 3 out of 4, including to a half-ass Cleveland team with P.J. Walker at quarterback at the point in time, including to a Vikings team that a lot of Bucs fans say, oh, Vikings aren't a good win. Well, guess what? They beat the 49ers, and then we got killed to him. Guess what? The Colts with Gardner Minshew. I know the score was 27-20, but it was not that close, or at least it never felt that close. It felt like we were playing catch-up football from when we settled for that field goal. And Katz made a great point in saying it hurt to settle for 3 this year. for that week, a couple days ago against the Colts on that opening drive. And it did hurt because the Bucs are still yet to score a touchdown on any of our opening drives this season. And I know I've been talking up the offense a little bit, but that's another stat that's been unacceptable. But here we are.
Let me say this. Oh,
yeah,
so I was trying to say though, that did hurt, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that you have to let Indy go right down the field and
exactly
put up points to match you within a fraction of it. It took It took 2 seconds. It felt like too for
They
Indy
were
to just go
dinking and
right down the
dunking and
field.
hemming and hawing all over us, Cats. It looked bad in person.
It looked too easy on TV as well. And the only chance the Bucs seem to have on defense, if they're going to win a game, besides 27 points, the 49ers with all their talent, the Colts with far less scored the same amount of points. So, I know they had one short field, big deal. I don't care. They still put up 27 points on us, the same as the 49ers vaunted offense. And Indy offense, that's what? I mean, no disrespect to Michael Pittman Jr. and their receivers, but I mean, that should not happen under any circumstances. And at no point were the Bucs, when at any point in this game when they needed a stop from their defense, like when they scored to make it, what did they make it? They tie the game up at one point, or they got within 3. I'm sorry, they cut it to 20-17, and you saw what happened on the Colts ensuing drive. They went right down and got points, got a touchdown. And then the Bucs, were able to get one stop later in the game, aided by some penalties, but it didn't matter in the end. Unfortunately, if the Bucs don't force at least 2 turnovers in a game, I don't feel they have a chance of winning. That's what it seems to be. That's the only way our defense seems to be able to get anything done. Otherwise, forget it. And they got one. They forced one. They had a chance at a second. Winfield dropped it. I'm not going to get on them for that. That happens every now and then, but if they don't force 2 turnovers in a game, it seems their record has to be something. It's probably really bad when they don't force 2 or more in a game, I would bet, off the top of my head.
I couldn't agree more with you. And Cats, as you said, we got the one with Davis, but Winfield, not blaming him either. He had an easy pick in his hand. If we make a couple of those easy picks, not just him this past game, but throughout the year, if our defense makes a couple of those plays, that could be the difference in these football games. The Bucs never seem to do that week in and week out. And the Colts, again, Cats gave kudos to Pittman Jr. He is a hell of a receiver. But after that, their tight ends and receivers are not all that in a bag of chips. And for them to come out the second half and for Shane Steichen to outcoach Bowles to the point where they threw it to their tight end on 2 or 3 consecutive passes and he was wide open each time, rookie tight end Will Mallory to come out at halftime and the Colts just drove right down the field, that's unacceptable. Todd Bowles doesn't make halftime adjustments. And I love the guy. He's a hell of a football brain. He's a really nice guy and a really good defensive coordinator. But right now, the proof's in the pudding at head coach. J-Lo, I'll give him the remainder of these games to figure it out and hope we turn things around and somehow win the South, and he'll earn himself another year, whether you like it or not. If we make the playoffs, he does earn himself another year. That's just a fact. But J-Lo,
I don't know about that, Tons. I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
No, I agree with Cats.
I think so. Based on what I've heard about from guys like Rick Stroud and a couple other big wigs who are closely wrapped up around the team, I think if the Bucs make the playoffs, he's pretty safe. But
that shouldn't be the case. That shouldn't be. But
I agree. Yeah. I'm in the same mindset as you. I'm just based on what I've heard. Let's just put it into hypothetical. Based on what Greg Allman, Rick Stroud, and those guys are reporting, let's just pretend he's safe with the playoffs. But if we miss the playoffs, J-Lo, is this win or go home for Todd Bowles this game? Say if you could tell the future we end up not making the playoffs and we drop this Carolina game, you think he's out the door?
Pretty much. I mean, to me, I'm calling for
at this time next week, do you think Todd Bowles is our head coach if we lose against the Panthers?
Sadly, the Glazers will not fire him until the end of the season. That's just the way they do things. I remember Raheem Morris lost 10 straight games, and they kept him on there. And there's nobody on the team that's going to be able to run the football team any better. So they might as well go ahead and let, Bowles give it all he's got, for a defensive coordinator position next year. I'm just at the point to where half the team's not here for Bulls anymore. I feel like they just left the building. I think the real ones that are there are the ones making plays, and that's Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, on defense, Levante David. I don't even think Carlton's really here anymore at this point. I feel like he's just playing for a paycheck. Yeah, I already won my ring. I'm getting my paycheck. And most likely I'm going to get cut at the end of the year because they already paid him his guaranteed money this year. So technically he's chopped liver when it comes to the offseason. I mean, there's just some players that don't belong on the team at all. Like Devin White, I'm fed up. I'm sick. Dead sick. If you're that hurt, if your foot is bothering you, get off the motherfucking field. Get off the field. Bowles is like his guardian angel, protecting him, saving him from all the criticism of him that he's just not that good. Yes, you got speed. Yes, you got burst. But at the same time, you got juked out of your fucking shoe by Gardner Minshew. No disrespect to Gardner Minshew, but he got juked out of his shoes. The 2020 Devin White would have laid his ass out like he did Derek Carr. What the fuck was that? You got to make the tackle. You want to be a $20 million linebacker, then make the motherfucking plays because you're not doing it at all. You're just a pair of shoes, man. I'm sorry. I'm putting it all out there. And any fan wants to argue with me over Devin White, go ahead. Yes, he helped us win the Super Bowl in 2020. Thank you. But you're out. You're gone. He's going to be going out the door with Bulls when the season's over. And the reason why I say even if he does make the playoffs, he's got to win a playoff game. You can't just show up in the playoff because our division sucks ass. What's embarrassing is we're only one game behind at 4-7 in the division, and technically we're one game out of the wild card too because the Vikings lost. But do you really think we deserve to be in the playoffs with the way this team is playing? That's why this comes Sunday, we're gonna see if we really do belong in the playoffs or not. Because you lose the game, if you can't beat the fucking Panthers, who are a depleted team, got nobody on the roster that's good, except for maybe Adam Thielen, who's their best receiver right now. And their best player on the team is Brian Burns. God bless his soul. He's on a very bad fucking football team. If you cannot beat the Panthers on Sunday, then you don't deserve a playoff spot. You don't even deserve the discussion about being in the playoffs. When you play a bad team, you whoop the shit out of them. You don't give them any shot at getting in the game. That's how frustrated this team makes me when you lose. When you had games like the Texans game, you shit the bed. Even though C.J. Stroud's having an incredible year, but you have 45 fucking seconds, and you're a defensive-minded coach, and you couldn't stop them. Mm-hmm. 45 fucking seconds. That's why, as a Bucs fan, it's stressful. And wait till Sunday. Sunday, it might be a whole different perspective. Even if we do win, you still got to prove me wrong, because then you got Atlanta next week after that. But in the meantime, Bowles will not be the head coach next year. I might put a stamp on that. He will not be the head coach next year, even if we make the playoffs, because he's just not a good head coach.
And I hear you on that. I agree. I think Bowles probably won't be the coach, but he could easily. This is just playing devil's advocate, right? Bowles can easily walk into the Glazers' office and say, "Hey guys, you gave me negative $50 million in cap to work with this year. Come on, I couldn't make any moves. My hands are tied. You had me fill the back of the roster out with UDFAs. The one free agent I did want was Baker Mayfield, and he's had a pretty dang good year for $4 million quarterback, right? Like, Bowles he drafted Kancey, who's proven to be a great first-round pick. Bowles has a lot of good points to make. The thing is, the Glazers aren't going to settle for empty seats in Ray J. If we lose to Carolina this Sunday, our final few home games of the year are going to be a ghost town. This town's going to be totally uninspired. So although Bowles could bring a lot of great points to the table, how valid can they be? Not too valid if we lose this Sunday. And that's why I think, Bowles will finish the season if we lose to Carolina, but the writing will be on the wall for him as Pops writes in. Two stats tell the story to me of the Bucs season: rushing offense 31st, total defense 27, third down conversion 31st on defense. Yes, third down D's has been nightmarish this year, and all around D has. And then our rushing game, it has been bad, but I do see signs of life from Rashad. I think it's turning the corner. We just started so dang bad there. We're going to get on to draft pick or playoff convo here, and I will say I do agree with J-Lo on Devin White's behalf. I think he's as good as gone, not worth the money. He'll probably get a 1-year prove-it deal from a team next year, kind of like Sean Murphy-Bunting did this year in free agency. I will like to see Carlton stick around. He had a great game against the Colts, I will say that. And I think Carlton is really only his weakness is availability, right? So is Jamel Dean's. You probably can't afford both of those guys continuing to get hurt. But I do believe Carlton's a better defensive back than Jamel Dean in totality when they're both on the football field. And he showed that this Sunday. And I will say, he does struggle against the speedy guys, but Todd Bowles has to realize that and help these young guys out a little bit and help coach him up and scheme him. And we just don't see it. I mean, we just don't see it. So we'll see what happens. Long off season, and we'll see if the playoffs differentiate that or not. Speaking of playoffs, Cats, at this point in time, we're here 4-7. We're a game and a half back of the wild card, and we do have the head-to-head win against Minnesota, and we're only a game back of the division. Playoffs are still realistic. I think the Bucs sit around 25 to 30% chance, so we're not dead in the water yet. Cats, will start with you here. Would you rather see this team make the playoffs, regardless if it's wild card or win the NFC South, or would you rather have this team with the higher draft pick at this point in time?
Wow. Well, I'll say this. Hard to answer the question. I can't sit and turn a Bucs game on at this point and root against. Basically, if I'm rooting for the draft pick, I'm rooting against them. And even though in deep down I know in the long term it's better for the team, I can't sit and watch them and root for them to lose. So right now, if you're asking me right now, I'd rather make the playoffs.
I agree with you, Cats. I agree. I get it. It's probably better if we get picks higher, this and that. But I'll say this. I've said it again. I know it's not only the first round, but let's remember, Lamar Jackson was the 32nd pick of round 1. There have been good players to fall in the first round of the draft. Now the later
Kalijah
round,
Kancey, right? Kalijah Kancey was picked what 20? Where did we pick him? 22nd? Or
yep,
move up? I don't remember.
It was right around 22nd. That's another great point. And we see it every year, right? A lot of the guys who go in the top 10 to 15, not all of them are hits. Some of the guys who fall in the back, I get it, right? Your hit percent's probably a little higher. But at the end of the day, even if it's an ugly playoff back in, I don't spend all my offseason time to prepare for the NFL draft come November or December or even January. Nowadays, getting the taste at playoffs 3 years in a row, yeah, I'm a full believer. If we, say we make the playoffs and we get killed, worst case scenario, I'm a firm believer that Light with the 22nd pick again or whatever it is, like Kat said, could find another Kalijah Kancey or maybe find that Lamar Jackson type quarterback in the back of round 1. J-Lo, do you
trade
agree?
up too?
Yeah,
we
we
can trade up
up
potentially.
And we've done a good job of trading up in recent history when we got Tristan Wirfs trading up and things as such. Even later rounds, we've traded up, made a couple good ones. And we've done a pretty good job at trading back too, right? Like we got Vita Vea from trading back and all that stuff. J-Lo, would you rather have us make the playoffs or get higher draft picks?
I'm with Cats. I don't ever want to see my team lose. Like I said, there's going to be so much talent in the draft, this next year's draft. Really doesn't matter what position they're in, truthfully. I think this team is capable of winning some close games. I'm not fully giving up on them. I just wish some of the players aren't there or not in the field. So I say make the playoffs, even if we get blown out, It just shows a sign of encouragement that the players do want to, that some of the players do actually want to win. They don't want to lose, especially for a draft pick. Because, I know a lot of people say they want quarterback. Well, guess what? There's going to be a crop full of them come into the draft, whether we get one in the first or the second round. And technicality, the division keeps falling apart. We may be at 13 or 14. You never know. We can make the playoffs at 7 and 10 at this point. As embarrassing as it sounds, but that's the truth. The thing is that, I don't root for my team to lose. I root to win. No matter how bad I feel about Bowles, but at the same time, we got players that have been there before that know how to win games. Just get your head out of your ass and go play some football, man.
I agree with that. I agree with both of you. I think we're 3 for 3 here. I guess that might be the minority nowadays, as crazy as it sounds. But um, yeah, I think that I'd rather have the playoffs, and I'll be a firm believer in that. I don't care if you back your way in. I don't care if you just get there. Playoff football hits different regardless, right? So let's stick with that opinion for us three. And speaking of hit different, Kancey has been hitting different this year. The great, outstanding first round pick out of Pitt. Him and Vita Vea up front are a wrecking crew. And a lot of people crapped and pooed on the Kancey pick, saying, "Oh, we could have got Will Levis, this or that." Especially when he got hurt in that Minnesota game, a lot of people were down and out about Kancey. But let me tell you what, he's been the best rookie defender in football so far this season, and nothing could change my mind on that. And now he wins the NFC Rookie of the Month for the month of November. Cats, let's start with you. Kancey. He's the real deal to me. He's a monster in the making. What say you on the big man who won Rookie of the Month for November in the NFC?
Yeah, absolutely agreed with that, and that's something that's a silver lining. What's been to this point, a rough season. Someone you hope that going into 2024 and beyond can be one of the pillars of your defense. Hopefully, a defense that gets significantly better. And I like what I hear in terms of how he carries himself. It's guys like that I do think, obviously you're a rookie, you care about winning. I'm not saying other guys don't care about it, but there's some I think a little bit more so than others. I think I like what I see of him as a leader. I love what I'm seeing on the field, and hopefully, as we go, now and beyond into the future, he is able to cement himself as a pillar of the defense next to Vita Vea and some others.
And I'll say it like this before we get J-Lo's opinion on the 19th overall pick of the 2023 draft. We have some corner and key pieces in place that are young on that defense. Vita Vea is still not, past his prime yet. He's still pretty young. You got Kancey, who is still young. You got Yaya Diaby, still a very young guy. Antoine Winfield is still young right there for the taking. Oh, and by the way, for as much crap as guys like JTS and Anthony Nelson get, they could be very good roll edge rushers if used right. But no, Todd Bowles has to keep dropping JTS and Nelson back in coverage, and they look pitiful, and it's a disaster. But hey, JTS is actually our best pass rusher statistics wise, and all that sabermetrics wise on this team. So this Bucs core defensively is really young and not as bad as the core seems. Now, a lot of the guys such as Devin Whites of the world, Ryan Neals of the world, D-backs can't stay healthy. That's all very problematic. Greg Gaines hasn't been the best in depth, but J-Lo, Kancey, monster in the making. This looks like it's a really, really good pick for Bowles and company. I will say I'll give Bowles credit there.
No, I couldn't agree more. It was a great pick. I liked it when we picked him. I feel like our pass rush needed some help, and he's definitely going to help it. Yeah, he missed a month, but look what happened. Can you imagine if he didn't get injured in training camp, what his stats could have really been? I mean, this kid to me, and I said in the group chat earlier today, that he's going to be a future Ring of Honor Buck if he keeps it up. I feel like this man, is going to be one of the biggest steals in the draft. I like his attitude. I like how he gets in there. And he hits too. He ain't no softy. For his height, that dude hits. When we're there at the Titans game, you saw how hard he hit Derrick Henry taking him down. He went right for his legs and he went down. Boom. Just like that. Who would have thought a 6'1" defensive end edge, whatever you want to call him in a 3-4 scheme, would get in there so quickly on a depleted line. And I expect big things this week from him and Vita Vea tag teaming on the Panthers. So I agree. He's probably one of the best picks we picked since the 2020 draft, if we're going to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. He's been a great pick. And really, this 2023 draft is a home run to this point. Round 1, you got Kancey, maybe a future All-Pro. Round 2, Cody Mauch developing into a very solid offensive line starter. Round 3, Yaya Diaby, he's already started. Then you get into the Trey Palmers of the world, the Servace Dennis's of the world. And even Josh Hayes has looked pretty dang good in very limited action. And same with Payne Durham. I think both of those guys have shown signs. And we still have Jose Ramirez in our practice squad. So it's not like he was a completely lost pick. You sprinkle in some of the UDFAs like Izzian and some of those guys who have flash potential. It's not too bad of a rookie class and signing for the front office. And a front office has to have rookie success to stay around. And we learned that firsthand with Carolina this past week as Frank Reich was showing the door. First coach in NFL history to be fired in back-to-back seasons, I believe, in the middle of the season. Fourth shortest tenure. And I know David Tepper has not been the best of owners so far, but certainly not a good look for Frank Reich or the Panthers organization. Katz, what's your thoughts on Frank Reich and his dismissal in Carolina?
Well, I mean, given that they're 1-10, it's not shocking. I don't think it's all by any means all his fault because it's a pretty poorly. The roster's not that very talented. Now, if he had a hand, I don't know how big of a hand he had in picking. And I shouldn't bury Bryce Young by any means. It's only his rookie year. Who knows what happens? You got a rookie quarterback who's had some struggles. So I don't think it's all his fault. I think it's a little bit. I always liked him as a coach in Indy. Obviously, things kind of went south on him. He's probably now just better served to be an offensive coordinator. But yeah, it's been a weird season in Carolina. I didn't expect them to be good, but I didn't expect them to replicate or to have actually. I think they went backwards from where they were a year ago. They're actually a pretty decent. They were in the division race for a while last year, so they've gone backwards, and that I did not expect, and that's enough to get you fired in year one. If you're going to take a step backwards when you weren't that good to begin with, and you take a step backwards, yeah, not all his fault, but understandably that they fired him.
And maybe if they showed a little improvement over these 11, 12 weeks, week by week with the young team, even if they're 1-10, 1-11, and they've been losing, but if they showed improvement, maybe he'd still be here. But Frank Reich's kind of been a mess in the media. Again, like Katz alluded to, poorly run organization, and Tepper hasn't helped out. But Frank Reich, back-to-back years, back-to-back firings, I'll think he'll resurface as an OC. But J-Lo, do you think this increases or decreases the Panthers' chance to win on Sunday?
Well, they're definitely going to play with a lot of pride. They're definitely going to go in like they did last year when we went to Carolina and try to upset us and this time beat us in our house. But at the same time, I mean, this team is just really damaged. There's no really fixing what's going on with them. And the fact that they don't have a first-round pick in this year's draft that they gave away, it just rubs in. It makes you wonder what's going on with the organization. Is it really the owner, the general manager? We don't know. I mean, I think this should be a win. Hopefully it's a big win, not a close win. I mean, this team's got a very poor offensive line. The best receiver is Adam Thielen. They already lost the other guy. They traded from Jacksonville, Shona, whatever his name is, for 4 games.
Laviska
Shenault. So, I mean, really, the top guy is going to be Adam Thielen. So, obviously, you're going to put Carlton on him to shut him down. I mean, like I said, this is a game where we should dominate. I don't see the Panthers coming out really playing that great unless we let them do it. And that's the only way. Butts will be butts if they do that. But really, this should be a game where the Panthers are very lost right now. And I just don't see them really winning any more games. Maybe 1 or 2. But that's about it. I mean, I don't see them winning many games. They're just not a great football team.
As Pepin Steppen predicted, 30-17 Bucs win. We're going to get into our Buccaneers score prediction Saturday. Once again, join us Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central with Mike Myers, Panthers personality. He'll be joining the program to give his take on the Frank Reich situation, Carolina situation, and the NFC South in general. And we'll see who's able to toe the line and win comes Sunday. But we got Thursday night football first tonight, fellas. This game is a big one for the NFC. Both of these teams are wild card teams at this given point. Cowboys 8-3, wild card number 1. Seattle's fighting for that second wild card spot at 6-5. They traveled to Dallas here. The spread's a little bigger than I thought it would be for this one. I know Dallas is playing well, Seattle not, but 9.5 seems like a lot. Cats, who do you like tonight? Seattle or Dallas? And do you think 9.5 sounds like a lot? Because I do.
Yeah, that does sound high. I mean, granted, though, I know they've not played well, Seattle, and I know Geno Smith is not sure how healthy he is. I know he's playing, so you presume he's healthy, but that elbow seems to be bothering him. That does seem like a big line, but I will say this: Dallas has been such a dominant home team, particularly it seems for the last year and a half, maybe, that I'm not shocked by it, and I like Dallas in this game.
J-Lo, what say you? 9.5 points. Is that too rich for your blood, or would you take the spread?
Nah, Dallas gonna dominate this game at home. Seattle is just injury pleaded right now. They're not gonna have Walker tonight, which is one of their strong players. DK Metcalf hasn't played up to number one receiver standards to me. I feel like honestly, I just feel like Dallas they're a little on fire right now, and they're gonna get that fifth seed easily. There's no way they're gonna fall out of the playoff race. But I say Dallas at home. They'll dominate Seattle. Seattle has to get healthy and get back to winning. And which will work better in our favor because we get our head out of our asses. We only be technically 1.5 to 2 games behind the sixth spot. And that to me is pretty good if you ask me. Would you rather be at the sixth spot and play, let's see, who's the number 3 seed? Play Detroit. Would you rather go play in Detroit or go play in San Francisco? I think, you gotta look at those things too. That's the way I look at it. Not the bash of Seattle, but I hope they don't win. I hope they lose, and that gives us motivation to play for something.
Yeah, it does help the Bucs out, surely. And I'm one who's, whether it's week 1 or it's week 13, I'm always rooting for fellow NFC teams to lose. It could be Seattle, could be Green Bay. I'm always rooting for AFC teams or higher top dog NFC teams to beat them. And I'll be rooting for that tonight. I do think Seattle keeps it closer than people think. I think Dallas wins by less than a score. But at the end of the day, for the Bucs' sake and for the playoffs' sake and for Top Bowl's sake, they got to root for anything possible nowadays, and every loss helps. And that would certainly help the Bucs. I'll say this: craziest odds I've ever seen. Micah Parsons is minus. If you bet on Parsons to get a sack tonight, you'd have to bet $23 just to get your $10 back if Parsons gets a sack. Those odds are pretty remarkable right there. It's crazy his career's getting taken off as quick as it has. But we do have 2 weekend shows. We're wrapping up the Thursday night one here. Cats, final thoughts for the Buccaneers on this Thursday edition with Thursday Night Football on deck. It could be about the Bucs, could be with the Lightning tonight, could be with, anything. Wormy Perry, what's your final thoughts here on the Buccaneers?
Well, I keep saying every week, it's a must win, and it's a must win. I think I've said that twice now this season, and they haven't won either of them. But because of some poor play by some other NFC South teams and some of the wild card hopefuls, the Bucs are still in this. So for the third time, and hopefully that's a charm, this is a must-win game for the Bucs. I know we're not doing official predictions, but I will say I think that the Bucs will win the game as well. And if they get some help, which they could, at New Orleans and Detroit and Atlanta at the Jets are sneaky with their defense. Who knows? We could end up in a 3-way tie for first. And hey, if that's the case, if we're in a 3-way tie for first with 5 weeks to go, and then you're playing the team directly in front of you via tiebreaker the next week, can't tell me that won't be at least exciting. No matter what ends up happening, at least it brings excitement. Maybe not for a lot of fans, but some fans will say, you know what? It's a division game. It'll be, some showcase by some. And I'd get fired up for it. So I hope it happens.
I couldn't agree more, Cats. With those 4 division games left on the schedule still, you just can't rule anything out. I'd be very excited if we're technically tied for first. Throw the records out the window. If we're tied for division lead first this late into the year, mid-December, it's going to be a high energy game against Atlanta. J-Lo, final words and thoughts for the program until Saturday, brother.
No, I agree with Cats. Like I said, this weekend can do a lot of changing. Just winning a football game would be good enough for me. Get back on the win, don't lose to Carolina, and go Bolts. Hopefully you get back on the winning page. They've been on a 2-game losing streak. And then hopefully the Rays don't trade Randy Rosarena, man. I'm getting sick of this
Hope
trading
not.
star players.
Give the Cubs Glasnow. I'll be a happy camper if we're able to get Glasnow.
Give me Christopher Morel back, and we'll talk.
Yeah, like that. Thank you.
Hey, that'd be a good trade for both of us because he's kind of, bottled up in the Cubs with the way we play out. So, hey, we'll give you Morel and you give us Glasnow, and we can make something like that work. But at the end of the day, my final word aligns with your gentlemen's. The Bucs need to win. This is a must win. And I'm a guy who always wants to see playoffs. So go out there and get the win. Friendly reminder, we'll be back with you guys Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, with Michael Meyer, Panthers contributor. Come join us Saturday.
Oh, I can't wait for that one.
That'll be a fun one. He's a great guy. I used to do some draft coverage and fantasy football coverage with him back when Time Skew was around and a thing. We both contributed for them, so that was awesome. Old friend. He'll be joining us Saturday. Then Sunday, because we play at 3 or 4 Eastern, we'll be here at 10 a.m. Eastern for breakfast with the Buccaneers on Sunday. Your first official pregame show for your Bucs. Cats and J-Lo, it's been awesome tonight, brothers. Have a great Thursday. Enjoy Thursday night football or whatever you fellas might be up to.
Thank you, Tones.
You too, Tones. Take care, buddy. Take care, Cats.
And starting
Thank you.
tomorrow, December 1st, pay attention on X at Buccaneers for holiday giveaways. It'll be December 1st. We're going to do our first of the holiday season tomorrow. And then we're also going to have T-shirt releases, Hanukkah, Christmas as well for the Buccaneers. It's going to be a great December for us, at least. I don't know about the Bucs, but let's hope so by winning Sunday. J-Lo, Cats, and the rest of the Buccaneers. It's been a great Thursday episode. You guys stay blessed.
You too, brother. Go Bucs.
Go Bucs. Fire the damn cannons until Saturday. See you later. Cats, J-Lo, Tampa Tones. We out. Game on Sunday, man. I know you're nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Buck fans were there too. The
Tampa Tones. We are joined by Lead Goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little cleared. But we're joined by Pat
It looks like
Donovan.
Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.